Hi everyone, welcome to this video. It's going to be a really short, quick tutorial video about a topic that came up last night in our feedback session. First off, everyone who came to the feedback session, thank you so much. It was some great discussion and great photos were shared. I'm really blown away by the fact that it was our first one and there was just so much enthusiasm and support for each other. It's incredibly humbling and I'm just thrilled about it. So thank you to everyone. Now, one of the things that came up in this feedback session was editing and processing differing skin tones. I mentioned in here that there's a quick little, I'm not going to say cheat, but like a little trick or tool that helps you to regain some skin tone or fill in white spots regardless of what that skin tone is. Certain skin tones can be challenging to keep looking natural to the person, so kind of having a little bit of tools in your toolbox here, which I say all the time, is going to help you to handle this. We will go into this in more detail in the portraiture lesson, but this is just to give you guys a quick little hint or tool to use. So we're going to start by looking at here, this library has various different skin tones, different undertones as well, and that's very important. We talked about how all skin tones have an undertone. Being able to recognize those will help you, but if you're unable to recognize them, I'm going to show you a nice way that you don't have to be an expert in different undertones and still be able to kind of pick out what's useful and what helps. So let's go ahead and let's just start with one of the pictures here. So we have her skin tone is actually, it's gorgeous. The skin texture is gorgeous. I love everything about this. I don't want to lose any of that skin tone nor texture here, but maybe I would like to brighten the face a little bit or fill in some highlights. So this is specifically Lightroom Classic that I'm working in, but there are similar tools in other processing tools as well. So don't feel like just because I'm using Lightroom Classic that you can't do this if you don't use Lightroom Classic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into my HSL sliders, my color mixer, and I'm going to go into Luminance. Now Luminance is the light coming through the color. Hue is the color itself, shifting the color itself. So you see me shifting my reds here. Saturation is how much color. And luminance is the light coming through the color. Now this woman, I would say her undertone is a more yellow undertone, which we can kind of see in the highlights here. She's also wearing a beautiful pinkish blush that we don't want to destroy in our edits as well, and we don't want to lose any of that beautiful color in the lip and in the eye. So I could say, well, she has a yellow undertone, and I can go ahead and try to lift the yellow highlights or fill in the highlights with the luminance here. But if I'm not sure about her undertone, or if it's a more complex one, which is always the case, because she's going to have some orange as well, and there's going to be some red as well, right? You see the way that's shifting on the face? So one thing we can do instead of having to guess is you see this little icon here. We can adjust specifically by dragging on the photo. So if we click on this, we get our little crosshair, and we want to choose the area that we want to kind of brighten or fill in depending. So let's look up here at the forehead, because the forehead's got a little bit of extra light on there. If I click and I drag up, watch what's happening on the right. It is pulling the orange, but it's also pulling the yellow. And with this tool, I can both fill in some blown out lights, or I can brighten the face. You are noticing that her skin tone isn't really changing. If you go too far, obviously that doesn't look natural. But if you want to just bring a little bit of brightness to the face, you can lift those luminance a little bit to bring back that brightness without sacrificing her natural skin tone. Now this works in all of them. So this woman has a very pink undertone. It's also a little blown out here. So let's try the same thing and watch on the right side here. Watch which color channels are actually changing. If I brighten it a little bit, it's like almost exclusively red, but you'll notice the magenta as well. If we go down, watch what ends up happening. Okay, so you really want to be careful with this because it is pulling out those undertones, those colors that we may not naturally see when we look at a person's face. They are there under that skin, especially very pale skin. Those undertones are very important. So you can see that she has quite pink undertones, and we don't want to highlight those. We want to highlight her beautiful natural skin tone. So let's look at someone who's maybe a little bit more in between here. Very neutral skin tone. It's maybe hard to guess what his undertone is just by looking. Maybe it's a little bit of pinks here, a little bit of, it's kind of like a taupey undertone. So if we do the same thing, we want to just brighten the face a little bit. You'll notice that it's the red and the orange that are shifting here. But if we felt like it was too bright, in this case, I feel like maybe it was too bright and we were losing some of his skin tone, then that's when I would start shifting down. Again, you do not want to go to extremes. You go to extreme, skin tone is completely blown out. That way, you go to extreme this way, you're getting all those undertones. I will also mention that all these pictures currently are JPEG, so it's giving an even more dramatic version of this. When you're doing this in RAW, it's much more subtle because it has that information in it that can pull it up. But these, just for the sake of quickly getting some photos together, I just pulled down some JPEGs to show you. So that's why we're getting that weird like pixelation here, because it doesn't have enough information in it. Let's look at these two together. Now this is interesting. When you have two people, they actually have a very similar undertone, both of these women. So if I start working over here, you see it is going to affect the woman on the right as well. So when you're doing two people here, you can obviously mask and do individual changes on either one, or you can bring it out in something like Photoshop and then bring it back and merge them. Or you could just be quite subtle and make sure that the adjustments aren't destroying one or the other. With these women, I think it was a little too dark, a little too muddy. We want to bring out some of that brightness that they have on their cheeks. So I'm just going to do it a little bit on the woman on the right. And I feel like it's not too much on the woman on the left. So these are just really simple, quick ways to adjust for these. And let's just look at, we have two more here to look at. So we have a very yellow undertone here, beautiful complexion, but quite yellow underneath. So let's go ahead and see, yep, we have the oranges shifting and the red shifting. If we want to bring back that skin tone a little bit, I feel like maybe a little washed out, a little too bright, we can pull it back down to bring that skin tone back, to recover some of those highlights in the skin. Now this tool works not just for skin as well. You want to lift those eyes. Watch as I pull up. We're getting that green and those yellows shifting in her eyes, and bringing those brighter as well. This is a really useful tool. And the last one here, this is cropped like this because this client doesn't want her photo shared, so I just wanted to use this much of it. But she has kind of like a nice orange and pink undertone. Again, a beautiful skin tone that is very consistent throughout, so we don't want to muddle it. This is a good example here of we're adjusting the face, and it's also adjusting down here on the neck and chest. And it's keeping that brightness without overdoing it, right? You want to keep the skin tone as true to their actual skin tone as you can, while making sure the brightness that they have inherent in their skin is coming out as well. So that's just a quick little help for this. You'll find that sometimes when you're doing these cross-board edits that you are going to maybe kill the skin tone, and this is a very good way to bring that back. Especially if you're using like blanket presets or something. If you're popping a preset, like a film preset on there, you know, you're immediately going to screw up the skin tone. It's just part of it because it's not thinking about that. But you can go in and try to manually adjust. This is a terrible example of that. Again, it's a JPEG and the colors are all over the place. But just to give you an idea. So if you do pop a filter on and you realize that the skin tone is kind of lost, come in here first and try this and see if it helps bring back some of that. You may need to also adjust the hue. Now this little icon here works for all of them. It's not just luminance, saturation, and hue as well. So this is quite yellow, right? I can go ahead and click on that, and I can try to readjust for it. This is a really bad example of what that would look like, but I just want to kind of show you that you have that tool available to you. So this is just an example for you. Obviously, this is not what we want this looking like, but so you can see how this works. If anyone has any questions about this, please feel free to drop them in comments or to ask me directly. Again, this is not the end-all be-all. This is just one way to help you to try to readjust for those skin tones that you may lose in editing or just due to the way the light hit the face. So thank you everybody for listening. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys continue to do this year. And again, we're going to talk a lot more about editing portraits later on in the class. We haven't even touched on taking them yet, so we will get there, I promise. And it's something that if you do have interest in, I'm happy to share more resources. I'll be putting this in the Discord along with some links to some resources about the history of photography and differing skin tones. It's not a great history. It's a pretty dark history at times, but I think it's important to learn about it so that we can be more prepared and more knowledgeable about how to keep this the best that we can.